Stones Radio Networks presents Pottercast, the best podcast for the best summer collegiate baseball team around, your Lincoln Potters. Hosted by the one and only Mark Phantom Lowe and his sidekick. That's me, Stones McCoy. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. It's time for the Pottercast.
You know, usually I worry about calling you a sidekick and everything. This time I'm going to focus on something different. Hi, I'm Mark Phantom Lowe. That is Stones McCoy. He's my sidekick. The one and only thing, you know, the legendary thing, the icon thing.
Yeah.
I never thought about it before, but you're setting the bar awful high.
Well, I'm only setting the bar that high, buddy, because you set that bar pretty high over the course of several decades here in the greater Sacramento
in the world
area.
Yes.
And
okay.
So, you know, I just want people to realize that I'm working with a friggin' legend.
Okay, all right. That didn't go the way I wanted it to go, but okay.
Okay.
So the friggin' legend and yourself, we're talking about, well, as you said so well on the Open, Pottercast, the only podcast devoted solely to the Summer Woodbat Collegiate League team, the Lincoln Potters.
Yes, sir.
And they are on fire. I mean, that's the only way I can say it. And I don't like to. I know that's indelicate because there are fires all over the place, and I don't want to make light of that. But the only way to describe the Potters is they're on fire. 12-1 in their last 13 since we last talked to them. I think probably June the 28th was the last time we had one of these, and then we were going right into a two-game series against the Mudcats, which was important, and we'll obviously talk about that.
We're gonna have to.
But 12 out of 13, and we've talked to Ryan Stevens a couple of times, and he's always told us that, you know, we're waiting for the hitting to catch up to the pitching.
Yeah.
Because the pitching has been incredible.
It's like spring training.
Yeah, and I told you before we went on, I said I saw JP The Rock over at Frosket today walking Lola, and he was doing an infield clinic for some kids.
He wasn't filming anything or anything? Because he's The Rock.
He is The Rock.
So.
I don't think he was doing any kind of escape adventure or anything.
All right.
He was doing a clinic with a couple. Cesar Estouris, I think, was involved.
That's right. Former Dodger.
And he was telling me, I mentioned it to him about the hitting.
Gold Glover, by the way.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, then good that he's doing that clinic because it was about infield.
Yes.
Which I happen to know a lot about. I was going to offer my help to JP, and then when he said he's got the major leaguer, I thought maybe
you pull back just a little bit.
Not that he would outshine me, but I might outshine him. And
I mean,
always thinking of other people right here.
I don't think he has a ring, but you don't either. So
I don't either
I
because
think you'd be fine.
I left it on the dresser, and my wife is very mad at me about that. So he said that I was talking to him about the hitting and catching up. Remember, we have a group of guys who were hitting incredibly well at the beginning of the season, hit the lull in the middle, and kind of waiting for them to come back, and that's coincided with this winning streak.
You bet.
That they've come back, and JP was saying, we've worked hard at it. He said, it's not only the batting practice you see before the game. He said, we're doing 2 or 3 hours earlier in the day over at Louisville, and doing that, and we're out there hitting and hitting and hitting and hitting.
And analyzing the hitting.
It's finally beginning to pay off. So that was kind of nice getting the inside scoop there from JP The Rock.
Just so you happen by him in the park,
Well,
and
Lola saw him first, and she was not happy about him. She did not treat him with respect.
Was he wearing some baller shoes?
That's The Rock right there. And
did he have bright ass shoes on?
No, he was kind of dressed down because he was helping with it, but it wasn't his gig.
He didn't want to outshine Cesar.
He didn't want to outshine Cesar Estouris.
Yes,
the Gold Glover, but not a ring.
Not ringed. I don't believe.
So the last time we talked was, I think, like I said, June 28th, somewhere in there. But the Potters then took off on a giant winning streak and won 12 of 13. I want to go ahead and pull up my schedule because I want to get this right. We're going to talk about the games. Then we're going to talk about we're going to play a couple of highlights that we put together. A couple of highlights from, obviously, just home games because we haven't worked that out yet. Maybe next year we work on getting the stuff, putting it in the suitcase, and taking it away.
If we are going to go out, I'll provide everybody highlights if we are going to go out. But I'll be honest, I watch most of the games or listen to them when they're on the road, and even the ones I watch, I'm not sure I'd like to cut any highlights out of that stuff.
Okay, well, I was talking about us going on the road and doing our own.
We need to.
Okay,
I think we really need to.
We're going to have talks with the brass about that. But still, that's so we can only bring you the highlights from the home games.
From the home games.
But we've got a couple of those. But let's take a look. Like we said, the 29th and 30th, Mudcats, we won that one and then went down to Solano and beat them on their own place. And that ended the first half of league play. Remember, we talked to Ryan about that. You need to get these 2 wins because at one time in league, the Potters were 2-8.
Correct.
At that time, they were 4. they were 4-8 or 4-9.
4-9, but they were,
and they needed to get those 2 wins to get to 6-9, cut off the first half, and then we said there's a long stretch of non-league games, which started off with the Gold Sox on the first, and then we had the 4th of July weekend with the Novato Knicks, a very persnickety ball club. You know, remember the first game we came out and we thought, well, we're going to knock these guys down through 3 up on the board.
Yeah.
And said, okay, let's take it easy for the weekend.
Let's flex our feathers.
They came back out and threw 4 up on the board on us, and we went, okay, all right, I got you. Won that first one 8-5, 8-2 in the second one, and I think 10-4 in the third one.
It's not the same Novato team from years past. Let's be honest.
No, but they're a persnickety bunch.
They are, man.
And they made the Potters work, which is what the Potters need to do, especially at that time, because we're piling the 2 against the Mudcats, grabbed 1 against the Gold Sox. We'll talk about that again in a minute. And then against the Knicks, we got 3. Then a day off. You had to take a day off in there somewhere.
Have a day off.
And then we went up to Medford and took on the Rogues. And remember when we talked to Ryan Stevens, we were talking about, well, are you going to use this road trip to kind of like experiment a little bit?
Yeah, you were asking him, hey, are you rotation?
Hey, maybe let Stones pitch, something like that. He said, no, we got the Medford rivalry. We're not going to do that. And they didn't. They went out there and waxed them the first 2 games. Medford did take the third game 9-3. I don't have too much information on a lot of those games, because unless you follow the Yellow Brick Road, you can't find the write-ups about them.
No, offensively, those first 2 games up in Medford were just ridiculous for the Potters. Yeah. The Potters were seeing the ball big beach balls coming at them.
At Oregon,
and they were hitting them all over the place. Third game, I mean, from what I followed along with that third game, I just think they were ready to get back in that bus and get out of there.
It's kind of hanging. It's a hanging chad.
It really is.
And they dropped that one. Then they come back and played the Gold Sox again and beat them before the weekend, before the games that we just saw. We'll talk about that in a minute. I want to go back to the Gold Sox.
Put up a fight.
The Gold Sox, the last 3 games, the Potters played the Gold Sox 8 times this year, and they beat them 8 times. And that's no slight on the Gold Sox at all. But the last 3 games that we played the Gold Sox, it was tied or we were behind going into the 7th.
Yes.
So, and they ended up being pretty big margins because the Potters piled runs on in the 7th, 8th, and 9th. But going into that 7th inning, each time, you're in a ball game, which I know in one way Ryan Stevens went, why are we in a ball game? On the other way, he said, it's good.
It is good.
We're good. We're going to, especially when we're on the road.
Yes.
We're pressing. We're down 1. We got to go in the 7th.
We got to do something.
And kudos to the Gold Sox making them reach down and pull it out. They did, but I think those games benefited them more than you think when you look at the score and say, oh, it's 12-4. Well, it's 4-3 going into the 7th.
Yeah.
And that's a different kind of game. And the Potters had to come up with clutch hits, even though it's a big margin.
Well, Gold Sox have done a lot, and like you said, in the 8 games that we've played them, I'd say take the first 5 out and throw them in the garbage because they were still getting their bearings under especially a whole new regime and the whole bit, right? And the last 3 that we've played them, they've come to play, and they've started to figure some of those things out. Better starting pitching, got some offense going early. The Potters need, and we talk about this all the time, they need to face adversity in every situation, especially on the road. It's a great time to get your group of guys really huddled together, pull for one another, and pull out these wins. They were very important wins against the Gold Sox, even though they're non-league. They're important, and I know they're important to Ryan Stevens.
Yeah, and speaking of the Gold Sox and pulling it together, have you had any contact with your buddy Brock lately?
Yeah, I've been kicked out.
What is the story about you and your coaching career?
I've been replaced.
I'm sorry?
I've been replaced. And in fact, what had happened is one of the guys took a early vacation.
Sure, that's fine.
Back, so he's back already. So now they don't need me, and that's fine.
Now, let me ask you.
They don't want me. I think that's what it is.
At any time, try to leverage the interest from up north to try to talk to your buddy down here and maybe get a slot on the Potter sideline?
I did, and without any dangling carrots.
Yeah.
Because that's what I believe most of this is.
Okay. Sure. I understand that.
Somebody up in Yuba maybe dangled a carrot over me just to see what I was going to do.
Yeah, well.
With no intention, but the young man here that runs this team, Ryan Stevens.
The organization, sure.
He did not dangle a carrot. He told me anytime I want to come on the road, because I can't do it here, anytime I want to come on the road,
true.
I can throw on a uni and I can take third base for him.
Yep. Well, the problem is I'm looking at the schedule. All the road games from now on in are league games.
Yeah, and they're not going to let me do that.
Yeah, the league games we need now. Maybe here's a thought. Let me throw this out there, Trouble. And first of all, I've come up with so many great ideas this year. It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
I will give myself so much credit. There is a 4-game series against the Seattle Studs coming in later in the month.
Yeah.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday afternoon. If we can get, one of our stringers to come out and fill in, and you can train him up to a point. The great Kenny Parker is going to come out on Thursday.
Oh, yeah, great Kenny Parker.
So if you can talk to him and maybe try to negotiate something, have him come out for one of those games against Seattle. It's a non-league game. It's a lot of fun. Maybe we get you down the field. What do you think about that?
I really like that idea. You are a friggin' genius.
I am a friggin' genius, and we'll talk about some of my other genius later on.
I hope so.
But
we can't let the people not hear.
Exactly. Thank you.
No, I'm with you, buddy.
In this case, I'm liking it. I'm going, hey, we may got a Friday night against the Studs or Saturday night against the Studs. Maybe we get the Stones McCoy out there coaching third. I'm sure JP wouldn't mind sitting back
with an earpiece.
Well, that would be fantastic. We've been experimenting with that all season.
I mean, but who better to experiment with an earpiece on the field than the guy who has to engineer the earpiece?
I know. I agree with that on one hand. The other hand, you're going to be so giddy being down there. Maybe you're not the right guy. You're going to sound like a guy in a roller coaster.
You're right. How about we do this? I'm going to reach out to Ryan. Okay, I'm going to reach out to Ryan.
Why
we'll
don't
talk to him.
Put that in front of him?
Yep.
And then we'll well, first of all, we have to talk with Kenny or with Chris and see if we can find someone in here that's going to go ahead and spell you, because they got to be able to do the job. Well, I mean, I'm not having my performance diminished by you. You're out there gallivanting.
You're right, but here's the thing: is I have this phone, right? You see this phone?
Do. I see that.
There's
phone.
a remote engineering tool on here that I can actually run all of this stuff from my phone. So I could probably do both.
You could be waving a guy in and working the scoreboard
and flipping the scoreboard.
That is fantastic.
I might be able to do that.
Well, that is a plan we've come up with today,
right.
and we're gonna look forward and see about that. But let's get back to the 12-1 stretch for the Potters, because they capped it off with, three critical wins.
Yeah.
We're, as we said, 6-9. They go off and they play some games. Gold Sox, Knicks, Rogues, and then the Gold Sox again. And now it's 3 to hopefully try to get you back, 500 for league.
Yeah.
We took the Crawdads on, and I'll give you a little glimpse of where I'm going on Pitcher of the Week. I thought maybe the performance of the season so far from Carter Delaney, coming out here and just mowing people down. And Lucas Webb came in too. I'm not going to slight that at all. So we go out and we take care of that game easier than I had thought it was going to happen. It's 9-0, I believe. And then they go down to play the Crawdads, and again, we're a victim of a lack of information, but what I got from it is the Potters go down and they took care of the Crawdads in Walnut Creek area. Eli and Marlon Bricado, who I'm now calling every day. That's his
everyday Bricado.
Marlon Everyday Bricado came in and they combined on an 8-hitter and won that one, a big road win. And then yesterday, when we'd be easy kind of to run into the same thing you did in Medford on the third day.
Exactly.
Maybe you take care of the Crawdads twice. You're kind of taking a deep breath and you kind of go out. But no, Carson Cole starts. It's a little dicey early on, and it holds them to, I think, 2 runs and then 4 2/3, something like that. JoJo comes in. I think, Brandon Gomez came in, played, pitched great, and they wipe him out defensively, and then offensively they get it going, as we've been talking about, and building, and a lot of the names we're going to mention later on contribute, and they get a big win. I think it ended up 15-2, which is about the third or fourth straight double-digit win over Solano, which is impressive because that's a good ball club.
They are a good ball club.
And so, that's the way you want to wrap up that 12 out of 13.
Oh, yeah.
Now you're 9-9 in league. So
Sounds
you got
great.
12 games to go. I believe somewhere around 3 games ahead of both Walnut Creek and Solano in that area.
Correct.
We're going to do more research
Percentage
there.
points-wise.
It's really hard to figure out. Jordan Jorgensen said that we were a game behind Solano after we beat them, and then they lost a doubleheader, or they lost 3 games in 2 days to Healdsburg.
Correct.
And we won over Walnut Creek, so we should have picked up a little bit more as well. So we'll double check that. But right now, 9-9, feeling pretty good about second place, and even more important, feeling pretty good about the way they're playing.
Absolutely. Well, you didn't want to limp into this. That's one thing you definitely didn't want to do, is limp into this and barely get that second seed, because there's only 2 seeds going. So in order to not limp into it, you got to start somewhere. You got to start putting some kind of run together.
Right.
And I don't care if it's the halfway point where they're starting to put their run together.
Doesn't really matter, yeah.
In a 60 game, condensed season like we play, whenever you can put that run together, it's important, and to sustain it as long as possible. This team has really started to feed off of one another. So the pitching is feeding the offense is feeding the defense, and everything is starting to click all at one time. This is the best possible time to do it. I will say it bothers me that we have the All-Star break, the showcase break.
Showcase break tomorrow. We'll talk to you about that in a
and we
little bit.
will talk about that, but because those are momentum killers sometimes. They can be. So I really want to see when we get back out here on Thursday, because we're back to it on Thursday
against same crawdads.
Same crawdads. I want to see a very spirited performance that like the guys didn't miss a beat, that they didn't relax and look at where we're at now, we're good. I want to see them come out here and really put the wood to the crawdads.
Well, the thing that really impressed me about the Potters, one of the things that impressed me, and I think you're right, but I do think that when you've won 12 of 13 in the span of, let's say, 15 or 16 days, maybe those 2 days are just what you need.
It's possible.
But anyway, when we started the 3-game series against the Crawdads and then the Mudcats, we're missing 3 of the 5 guys that we're sending down to that showcase game. Haven't played no one. That's Jason Brando, Garrett Forrester, and Mason Holt. And those are 3 of our best players.
Absolutely.
Okay? And none of them played in the 3 games we just talked about. So to come out with the wins the way they did, with the guys stepping up behind them, and that's no slight on the guys behind them, is to say that, I miss these 3 guys. It's no slight at all. But to have them come out and hit like they did and back up the pitching like they did is really, really impressive, because those are 3. Garrett was just hitting his stride. He is fantastic. Jason has been great all year long.
He has
and
been.
Mason Holt hasn't made an out,
forever,
for a long time. He didn't even play those 3 games, and I still have to throw him in Player of the Week. He was that good in the games before. So to come out with the wins without those 3 guys, I thought it was supremely impressive, and I think surprising no one on the team that they did that.
Yeah.
But for those of us watching from the outside going, well, those were 3 of our best guys. They're not here. And then to come out and see what they did, and again, keyed by the pitching, Carter and Eli and everyday Bucado.
But look at some of the guys
Carson
that have filled in those spots, right? So you got David out there.
Okay, well, don't give them all away, because we're going to talk about them when we talk about Players of the Week.
But I'm just saying, so.
Oh, yeah, Jeffrey David. He's my guy.
You got David that's come in. You've got a rabbit on the field running across the first base right now.
That looks like the one Lola was chasing the other day.
Yeah, there's lots of rabbits out here in Lincoln. I love it. But,
Speaking of rabbits, David is one of them.
David is a rabbit.
Yeah. Mason Holt's another one, and so is Brando.
But, again, they haven't been here right now, but the likes of Trey Fury have stepped up.
Exactly.
Okay? Carson Blatnick has stepped up. They've stepped into these positions, and nobody is saying that they couldn't. Okay? They just hadn't been playing yet.
Exactly.
And now that they've gotten their opportunity, boy, have they made the best of that opportunity.
Yep.
So we may have been losing 3 of what we would call our all-stars, but we had 3 other all-stars that really just stepped in and filled those shoes.
We'll talk about them. A couple other names that you didn't mention, we'll talk about them when we get to Player of the Week. But I want to do now the little highlights. We only have a couple highlights. Yeah. I hope you can get to them for me. And the first highlight is from way back on June the 29th, and it's more not a highlight to talk about the team and how it's going. A highlight to say adios to a guy.
Okay.
And this ties into one of my other great ideas that I've had this season. I don't think it's going to happen in my Wall of Fame, and I'm very upset about that, because my Wall of Fame is something
it's a great idea.
Is a great idea to honor Potters past and present and future. But this is a guy who was going to be, as I plotted out my Wall of Fame, which was going to be like 8 players inducted every year along with contributors, and every year you put more guys in the Potter Wall of Fame, and you put the names outside on the wall that you were going to design.
Yeah.
And we were really excited about it tradition-wise. And this is a guy that when I looked at it, I said, okay, this is a guy, he's going to be in our second class. I'm going to be in our first class because, there's other guys that have played more. This guy's only played 2 years. And then this guy not only blew up, but said, something, I'm the most sought-after player in college baseball.
I'm going back to Lincoln.
Why don't I play on the Potters?
I'm going
and
back
so
to
Daniel Susak was with us for a couple of games, and we just got to pay tribute to him. In the lead 8-0. We're in the 5th. And nobody out. Here's the pitch.
Oh, that was the wrong one.
Hands, yeah,
I apologize.
I
just realized that was the wrong one. Here it is.
A high fly ball to left field. And going back, look at Daniel Brown. Forget about it. That's a home run by Daniel Susak. 2 games, 2 home runs. The natural has done it again. It's 11-1 Potters.
How many times have we seen him make that trot?
Yeah, but he's that wasn't. See, the one we played last time was when he hit it and no one moved because it was like a UFO. That one he just went
one out of here.
Yeah, I did it again, and he just kind of saunters around the bases.
11 runs
I'm
now.
pretty good at this.
Well, like I say, that's a guy that now.
When you want to talk about a guy building a legend, they're going to talk about him as a Potter for the next when Stones' kids are playing, up here in the booth.
Hands, yeah. Okay, so I just think that he's a guy that I've got to move from that second class into the first class now. Like I said,
for sure,
he came back for his third year.
Yeah,
didn't have to. Came back, showed up, and did the perfect cameo. I'll come in for 3 games, and I'll hit 2 home runs, and I'll drive in 7 runs, and I'll hit 600, and then I got to go. Because he had to play in some super all-star game. So, and I remember, as we talked about, I remember the first year we had him, we had to kind of schedule an interview between Petco Park and Wrigley Field.
Wrigley Field, yeah.
So that's Daniel Susac, and we
wish
him well. And a year from now, we'll be sitting in here, hopefully, God willing, to give us all the raise, and God willing, and then we'll be talking about Daniel Susac being a first-round draft choice.
Yes.
And just be saying, something, Stones, I knew him, and we'll put all our old Daniel Susac highlights together, and we'll put a big picture of him, like a fat head. It'll be great. Remember fat heads? Those are great.
I can't wait.
So one of Daniel's teammates at Arizona, I think he was a redshirt, but I'm sure Daniel was nice to him, was a guy named Jacob Shaver who came out of Riverton, Utah.
Love Shaver.
And he is a stocky guy. I think we called him the fire plug.
Yes. I called him a fire hydrant. You didn't like that.
I didn't like that because that people take advantage of those, and I want it to be fire plug's different. He's played second. He's played third. He's played right. He's played left. He's caught. I think he'd pitch if you asked him to. He just does it all. He's just one of those guys in the mode of the great Larry Fonseca, I think, that will do anything for his team. And he's shown a surprising amount of power.
Yeah, you got this boy.
Why is that guy always laughing?
2-2.
I have no idea.
That ball's hit well to left field. Is it going to stay fair?
Is it?
And it does.
Okay.
Jacob Shaver, home run number 2.
I had to make you wait.
Just in case.
You know me. He probably hit it to center. And I didn't know it was fair.
Run batted in for the Potters this season. Jacob Shaver got the 2-2 pitch.
So that's Jacob Shaver, who is, like I said, his second home run. And he has just shown surprising power from the number 9 spot. He and Drew Stahl, those two have kind of inhabited that number 9 spot for a long time now. Eddie's down there. Eddie Madrigal's down there once in a while. But for the most part, it's Drew and Jacob and Jack Grant as well. But they've really shown surprising power out there. I think he's got 2. Jack's got 1.
Yeah.
Drew's got 2, I think, as well.
Drew's got 2 as well.
I think Eddie has 1. So, they are pounding some home runs down there.
It's nice to see the power down at the end, but it's just nice to know that when you get down to the 7, 8, and 9 hitters, you're not losing anything on this team. They can make good contact with the ball and keep that line moving. I love that.
Because you're talking about the model that Healdsburg has and San Luis Obispo. They're 1 through 9.
You have to
1 through 9, and you got to be 1 through 9 because summer baseball is just that good.
It is.
And it's really tough. All right, finally, a guy from this is just from the other day. This is a guy that you talked about before. He became my favorite guy like about 2 games into the season after he showed up. Jeffrey David.
I've got the one.
Oh, you said you didn't have it.
No, I said I have it. It's just not the most beautiful.
Well,
highlight.
then of course we're gonna, because this is the guy that was my favorite before.
I was just gonna
Jeffrey
say,
showed up.
Let's do that.
This is the great guy out of Napa, Vintage High School, and Cal State Fullerton. Jason Brando is
gone. A 3-run home run by
go.
Jason Brando, and you could see that thing bouncing its way down the street because there's a nice little street back there leads over to the skateboard park. 3-run home run by Brando. He just crushed that for his.
So you don't get that information about the skateboard park in every park. You don't get that.
You don't.
No, you don't get that.
Well,
so
you have to have a guy who walks all the parks as much as you do.
That's true. Well, that one time we walked this park, Lola ate something, and we had to go to the. Anyway, I don't want to get into that. So Jason Brando has been just a great player all season long. Right field, center field, left field, and hitting the top, the middle, the bottom of the order. Doesn't matter. He's had a couple of nooks and crannies, and he's had to spend some time. He's done some DHing, I think, possibly because of that.
He's not a Thomas English
He's
muffin.
not Thomas English muffin, nooks and crannies. But he's just been fantastic all season long. And the last guy is the guy who kind of took his place in a sense. This is a guy who, in the tradition of great center fielders here in Lincoln, can cover. I really believe this guy could cover the whole outfield by himself.
Oh, yeah.
The ball he caught in medium left field the other day.
When he was in right center?
It started off over there. You can see where I'm pointing. Over there, went all the way over there. See where I'm going? And got it from there.
Nobody can help you.
Without even, he doesn't even breathe hard. It's great. And at the plate, he's got power, but he's also hitting for average. And he brings in a lot of those, what we call the RBI base. Potters in the lead 8-0. We're in the 5th.
Look how pretty this park is.
It has fantastic pictures. Look at this. And nobody out. Here's the pitch. Hit sharply out to second base. Familia with a dive. Couldn't get it. It goes through into right center field. David's going to round first. He doesn't like to stop, so
he just picked up the ball.
I know, but look at Jeffrey.
That's what I'm saying.
When
Jeffrey David touched the base, okay, when he touched the base at second, The guy just picked up the ball in center field. If he would have continued to run, nobody in front of him, he would have gotten an inside the park home run on a double.
Okay, so what we're saying now is instead of being excited over that double highlight, I'm very upset that he didn't get a home run.
I am upset that he didn't get a home run. JP, why'd you stop him?
That's Jeffrey David, and like I say, he's been one of the best players for the Potters all year at the plate and in the field.
Without
and
question.
That's a double. And again, I look at those picture stones, and I marvel at what you've done with the presentation of the game. And sometimes I don't know why the guy that's explaining the action is always laughing. What's wrong with that guy?
He's just got a great attitude.
He's got That's what I say. He's got a fantastic attitude. And that's highlights from the home portion of the 12 out of 13, the 12-1 run. And so now it's time to move on to our pitcher and player of the week. And there are, I would say, maybe not dozens, but half a dozens of candidates for both of them. Again, folks, if you haven't seen a game, if you haven't listened to a game, the pitching has been unbelievable almost the entire season long.
Absolutely.
There was two bad games against Healdsburg earlier in the league season.
And it was early in the game, too.
Yeah, since then, Carson Coles, Shane Gustafson, Carter Delaney, Brandon Gomez, Marlon Everyday Bricado, Eli Garcia. I'll miss Ryan Bruno. Logan Bell.
Josh Cohen.
Josh Cohen. There have been so many great pitchers, and they've done such great work for the entire season. And that, 12-1 is a great run, and you can't do it without both sides of the coin. But pitching has been the key.
I agree.
Now, as we mentioned earlier in the show, hitting has started to catch up, and that's what makes the Potters dangerous. Of course, you got to maintain both of them, but that's just where you're going. So I think we go pitcher. Let's do pitcher of the week before. Okay. And again, we can.
You've got ideas,
I kind of went a week, but if you want to extend it a little bit, but there's a lot of games we didn't get info from, so you don't know. I want to give a nod to, I think the guy Carson Coles, who I think we've already given it to once.
Yeah,
he got 2 wins.
Yes, he did.
So both of them were key. He got one against Medford, and he got one on the road yesterday. So he, I believe, is 5-1 now. So he has been fantastic on the mound as a starter. Gustafson, again, is great. Ryan Bruno is still throwing great. Everyday Bricado was fantastic.
Eli just had 5 solid innings.
Eli and Everyday got one together, and they put it together, and you went on the road in the league. That's huge.
That's huge.
And the fact that he only had to use 2 pitchers.
And shut him down with 8 hits.
Yeah, exactly. 3 runs, 8 hits, the 2 of them combined, and they only used 2 of the pitchers in the pen, so that basically yesterday, if they needed them, everybody was available because they were going to have a couple days off anyway. So all those names you mentioned.
I'm going to start calling him Big Game Garcia because it does seem like he pitched on 4th of July. That was a big game.
That was a big game.
Got that one. You go out there.
I kind of like the name they gave him in Little Hollywood.
Oh,
I kind of like
Hollywood.
Yeah, he was Hollywood.
I don't know him as Hollywood because nobody ever told me that.
That was the Little.
All right.
I talked to him.
I'll give him Hollywood.
He had some highlights in his hair at one time, and I don't know if that's why. But my father-in-law is the one who named him Hollywood.
Is that right?
Yeah, and so that's what I call Eli. So Hollywood and Everyday combined for a beautiful
Everyday Hollywood.
Everyday Hollywood combined for a great game there. I'm personally, as I said before, I'm going to go with the guy who only had 3 1/3 innings before he started a big game against the Crawdads on the 10th. I'm going to go with Carter Delaney.
All right,
5 innings.
Well,
I think he gave up
5 innings, 2 hits, 2 walks,
6 strikeouts.
6 strikeouts.
Yeah. And we call it no runs.
Now,
so that's the guy I'm going to go with.
Average against him was 118.
Yeah. So
and this is in the last 7 days too. So the last 7 days that he's been out there, he's got the 5 innings. He's got all of that. Right.
And he came on against Medford and got the last out in a kind of a blowout game. And then his earlier game, I think, was outside of the window we're talking about.
Correct.
He went 3 innings, gave up 5 hits, but no runs.
Absolutely.
So I'm going with Carter because that was a big game. Again, we talked about it. We came back into league play after being out for a while, starting the second half of league play, and he got us off to a great start. Lucas Webb came in and threw 3 innings. I don't want to ignore him, or Matthew Ornelius also closed it out.
I was going to say, and then you got Carson Coles in there.
Carson has been fantastic.
Carson has given up a few more hits than the other guys.
Yeah, he does because he pitches to contact more.
He pitches a lot to contact, and the defense has gotten better. So it's definitely gotten his ERA has gotten better because the defense has gotten better.
Yes, and as we talked about, they're on their toes because he throws strikes.
He throws strikes. Yeah. So, definitely honorable mention there. I mean, I mentioned Hollywood now that I know him as Hollywood.
Yes.
I mentioned that because, 5 innings, 2 pitchers, 8 hits, against a team like that, that's huge. That's money.
And also, you can include the 4th of July if you want to.
And I want to throw the 4th of July out there because the 4th of July was a big one. So
it was a lot of fun that day.
I was kind of sitting on Eli going into this. I just don't know how the biggest difference, right? The only difference between those two pitchers is the one run. Okay?
Yeah.
Is the one run. So I don't know how you could really coin flip and do this either way, but I'm going to go with you. I'm going to go with Carter Delaney.
Okay, very good.
I think it's a solid pick. Eli is 1A in this one. If Carter can't accept his award.
Yeah, and Eli's got a lot of Potter's awards at home anyway.
You just come up and you grab it, okay?
And the thing about Carter, I'm going to talk about this with Ryan on Thursday, but I'll preview it. Carter Delaney, to me, is a guy like a Matt Lopez or a Rad Thomas who gets discovered in the summertime.
Yep.
You know, people may know him and stuff, but they see him in the summertime. I mean, Matt Lopez was so good in the summertime.
Yeah.
I mean, he had, and by the time he got done, he had people knocking at the door. There have been others too, but those guys, those two stand out to me. And so I think Carter Delaney, as I talked to him on the postgame the other day, he's a big guy, but his fastball still is kind of sneaky.
It is
and
sneaky.
You don't see that a lot with big guys.
Yeah.
You know, usually it's like, oh, there's the power coming. And he's got a little bit of the way he does it, his mechanics, it really zips in on you. Right. So I thank you for coming over to my side. Eli, a very worthy contender as well, as is Carson Coles, and frankly, half the staff, if not more.
Absolutely.
Mr. Ryan Bruno. And
did we mention Matt Volker at all?
Well, we probably will when it gets to player.
Okay.
I didn't mention him when his pitcher because I didn't know that he pitched that much in this last week.
He really hasn't, but my point being is that he still is a pitcher.
I know.
He still is a phenomenal pitcher,
I hope he knows that you're like his agent.
I'm going to get him a contract with San Francisco, dude.
I like that. Well, he's going to Baylor. That's pretty good.
All right. Well, after Baylor, come talk to me.
Now the real problem. Player of the week.
It's not a problem for me, but...
Player of the week.
All right.
Again, we are assembling bits of information from different games.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
One thing I did is I looked at after yesterday's game because they have the averages, which hopefully that's what you got there.
Yeah.
And I saw a couple of guys who've really raised their average, and the guys that I've seen, obviously, or I read about the games and their name figured prominently. Mm-hmm. So two guys I want to put forward, Trevor Haskins and Chase Stanky. So those two guys, Trevor has got his average over 300 now.
Yes, he does.
And I know that a couple of games ago it was 250.
It was.
So
he
has really raised the average over 50
together.
points, and he seems to really come up with RBIs too. Even from the leadoff spot, he comes up with big hits and RBIs, and so I want to give him that. Chase is the same way. He had a tough game, one of the games here, but on the road, every time I read the recap,
got it together.
Or when Jordan puts out his tweets, I'm like, Chase Stanky, another RBI. Chase Stanky, another RBI. So I want to put those two guys, and then I've got to put one more guy in who is the same, and that's Jake Sapien.
Okay.
Jake is, I don't know, he's doing his Ohtani all the time. He hasn't. I don't know if it's because he hasn't got on the mound a lot, but he's had control problems when he's gotten there.
Yeah.
But boy, I'll tell you, when he gets a stick in his hand, he's coming up, like I say, in those tweets. Every tweet that goes out's got a Jake Sapien RBI single in it, and I just got to mention that guy in the Player of the Week.
Well, absolutely.
Contention.
No, I appreciate you mentioning him because he can swing the stick, and because he's not just a PO, you know, he can he can
Absolutely.
do it. So, you know, I appreciate that. He's had a few issues here and there, but, you know, again, Player of the Week, honorable mentions, definitely. I think
honorable mentions. So you have some better ideas. Let's hear them.
Well, I mean, you got to remember that we have a guy named Trey Fury who has been Mr. Consistent, and he hit a lull there where his average dropped, and he has busted his rear end to get that back up to 300.
Okay, is it up to 300 now?
So he is working really hard to do so. Yeah, and I think that he's another one that you've got to mention because he's been here from the get.
Absolutely.
And, you know, he's moved up and down that lineup. Furry's batted up at the top, and now he's down at the bottom, and he's still doing it.
Something else about him this year, I think that he's playing more positions than he played before.
Yep.
And I don't know that he's comfortable in all of them, to be honest with you.
He might not be, but I guarantee you that Ryan Stevens sees that the better and the more he can endure himself to a team in any other spot.
No, you're exactly right.
He's such a good bat and a good presence in the dugout, the locker room, that you want this guy no matter what. So
you need this guy.
You
want him on the wall. You need him on the wall.
You need him on the wall.
Okay, very good.
But Stanky Leg gets my vote this week.
Nice. Well done.
He gets my vote this week for Player of the Week. He again, you're right. He didn't start hot. And that's tough when you're coming into a new place, new organization,
but it's
new
also
people.
Common too.
And it's very common. The problem is that there's a lot of guys that come in like he did, don't start hot, and then can't find it.
Right.
And he has found it. He found it quickly. And on top of all of that, the catching position here in Lincoln has been solidified. Okay, by bringing
point.
the Stanky leg behind the dish.
Yeah, that's
so
a fantastic
I gotta give Player of the Week honors to Chase Stanky.
So Chase Stanky's our Player of the Week. Carter Delaney is our Pitcher of the Week. And again, half dozen candidates for each one, and that's the way we want it to be.
Lots to mention.
That's the way we want it to be.
We didn't even talk about, Will Hoy really starting to swing a good one now and playing some really nice defense at third base.
I love seeing that.
I mean, there are certain guys that, you might not hear them on the Pottercast, but it doesn't mean that we don't know what they're doing.
Exactly. And the defense, like we say, Jeffrey David in center field is fantastic.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
That's okay. It's
my computer's loud.
Reconnect your drive. So there you go. So that's our Pitcher and Player of the Week. So finally, what we want to do is preview. First of all, our next show is going to be our next off day, which is next Monday.
Yeah.
So we have the showcase game tomorrow. We have the Crawdads on Thursday, the Mudcats on Friday, and the Mudcats again on Saturday. All three of those games are at home. Mm-hmm. So you want to definitely check those out. If you want to come out,
please come out.
It's a lot of fun. Or you can listen to us, watch us, whatever you want to do. But if you can, come on out because that's going to be a lot of fun. Then on Sunday, they go to Healdsburg to take on the Prune Packers. And then on Monday, we'll have a show talking about basically those 4 games and also the showcase game. Now, the showcase game is tomorrow night, and you were telling me it's at...
Tomorrow night, 7 p.m., BallySportsWest.com. I don't know about the .com exactly, but if you Google search Bally Sports West, you will find it. It's an actual channel. I'm an Xfinity customer. I found it on my Xfinity.
Okay.
So it can be found. But tomorrow night, 7 p.m., I believe we only have 2 guys there now.
Well, we have 5 guys that were named to the team.
Correct.
One was Quentin Hall, and from what you told me, he is unable to play.
Quentin's out. And, real quick, thank you for bringing that up. Special shout-out to Q, Quentin.
Oh, yeah.
Came out here, poured his heart and soul out into this team, busted his butt, set an example for the guys. Set such an example that he injured himself on a fly ball.
Oh, jeez.
And
on his way to legend status.
And had to check out, and only because of health is the only reason why he's not here. We miss you, dude, and wish you the best. Hopefully you recover quickly, and hopefully we see you out here maybe next year.
And hopefully you let us know where you land.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know that he was going back to Johnson County College.
If you
don't know.
Listen, Q, if you don't call me and tell me where you're going, I'm going to come find you.
Or Nana can call.
Or Nana will call me.
That's fine, because when you're in Kansas, there's always a phone handy. But that's true. There's 4 other guys that were named to the team: Garrett Forrester, Mason Holt, Jeffrey David, and I always forget the other one.
Brando?
Jason Brando. I don't know what their whether they're going to be, what their status is.
Correct, yeah.
Hopefully they're all 4 going to play.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to check out the game tomorrow night and find out, to be honest with you. And I know Jeffrey David is healthy, so he's going to go down there.
He's going to run down there.
He's right. He's already there. He's running. He's actually running there and back again.
Oh, yeah. He forgot his glove.
Yeah, he forgot his glove. And he was coming back to yell at you for yelling at him about that double.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So check that out on Bally West tomorrow. Look it up the way Stones told you to, 7 o'clock, and check in with your Potters and your Potter favorites. And then we're back here on Thursday, the 6:05 first pitch, 5:35. Stones Radio Networks is on the air, and 5:50 or so is the Ryan Stevens Show. Crawdads on Thursday, Mudcats on Friday and Saturday. Those are home games. Then the Prune Packers away on Sunday, and then we're back here next Monday, 6 o'clock for your what we call the Pottercast. So Stones, nice job today.
It was not bad, not bad. I think you did a much better job than I did, so I appreciate you for being here.
If I don't, then it's time for me to retire.
I agree.
Thank you for watching. We'll talk to you again on Thursday night. Don't forget to check out your Potters on Wednesday. Talk to you later. Thanks for listening and watching the Pottercast.